Miles Brent sighed to himself as he laid on the hard floor. This whole situation had him all but helpless, and after the initial panic, rage, and the entire emotional gauntlet that followed, he had grown pensive and considerate. Now his mind was running cold instead of hot, and he thought and recalled. The situation is easily summarized. He was one of the basic janitors that was being brought along for first contact. Technically second, but first face-to-face contact with alien life. Turns out that Earth and the entire solar system is smack dab inside some hellish patch of space that the Star Trek nerds had gotten everyone calling a negative space wedgie. Mostly because there seemed to be about 1 million different names for it, usually about 50 per alien language. So may as well start giving it a few of our own. Now what's the wedgie do? It completely screws up almost every law of physics needed for FTL and most of the basic ship systems required. Artificial gravity? The wedgie says no. Efficient life support? Wedgie no likey. Proper astrogation? With the wedgie you can't even trust your own eyes. Apparently the creme de la creme of the wedge's effect is the ozone layer, which the other races call a naturally developed planetary disruption field. Rare in the galaxy and has all the effects of the rest of the wedgie concentrated and wrapped around our little blue ball of a planet, making the advanced technology needed extra impossible. About 3 years ago, the alien equivalent of the United Nations had managed to get a probe to Earth and start up contact with a very primitive AI that had been manually decoupled until a basic clockwork timer had plugged it in. They did this because their laws stated that anyone lost in anything like a wedgie was owed at least a rescue attempt by law, and that law had recently been bent in such a way that we counted. Anyways, the AI program. It was the alien equivalent of Reader Rabbit or some other child education game designed to help create specialized ships to get out of the wedgie. First problem was that try to get anything with the engines needed for crude FTL through the ozone layer made a really, really big bang. We've been warned about this from the program. So that first flight had been unmanned just to see how big a bang it would be. Most of the people that looked at it directly needed experimental optical surgery to see again. People like me that saw it through a recording were blinking spots out of their eyes for hours to come. Still, it was really neat to see a double-sided mushroom cloud. To cut out more of the bullshit, we built the thing in space, developed slingshot railguns with the help of the AI tech to throw things into orbit to cut down on cost. The way down still is a doozy of a first step though. Then came manning the big clunky beast of a ship. The program stated that for proper first contact, they wanted a large variety of every type of human around, so a lottery went out to each and every major population center, and I signed up. I got lucky and they gave me my training. I'm called a janitor, but I'm also trained as a mechanic, soldier, and diplomat to some extent. A few friends I made during basic had joked that if we were separated or got bored, we had everything we needed to start our own rebellion on an alien world. Considering we were in gunsmithing class at the time, I had to agree. My role on the ship was to sit on my hands and hope to never need to come off them. The Dauntless has thousands like me, each one trained well enough to take over for an actual engineer, soldier, or diplomat. Though to be fair, the diplomatic training was mostly a crash course in the standard trade language that we didn't pass until we could go through an entire day being monitored without speaking anything but Galactic trade. After that, there was required reading on numerous political texts with some final grade essays and 1,000-question quizzes that you had to get 90% or get sent for remedial training, which I had to do twice. Things had gone well at first. The Dauntless held up well in the experimental technology, as well as the old standbys we were already familiar with, kept us safe and sound through the wedgie. Then we broke through the edge and the ship nearly plowed through an observation post. After that slight debacle, we began to straight up sail through the cosmos as we brought the separate pieces of the advanced equipment together, and the entire ship went from a gravity-less pain in the ass into a comparative luxury hotel with warp drives. We soared among our fellows for the first time. The scuttlebutt on the ship said that most of the aliens speaking to us through the comms not only look humanish, but also gorgeous. Babes for days. Star Trek had gotten something else right. Then the pirates hit. Turns out that Galactic UN was just as useless as Earth UN, no standing army of its own and no official power. A massive advisory board with their heads up their asses and hoovering up the taxes. The escorts were basically the Salvation Army, and their own laws hadn't given them permission to teach us about weapons and armor. Our ship was basically a giant flying piece of armor due to the ablative plating needed for the wedgie, and we had snuck aboard a lot of missiles, guns, and torpedoes for our own paranoia. But when a battle fleet of raiders a few hundred strong drop on top of you, it really doesn't matter how much metal you've got or how much bigger you are. They're going to get at least a few drops of blood. Which leads to me, one of those few drops. My military training had given me the option of specialization, and I'd pick sniping. The idea of getting to play with one of the big guns that can still be used for something other than a war crime had appealed to me. The training where I had to shoot the thing with pinpoint accuracy while balancing a fucking coin on the gun was annoying as hell though. This meant that when the boarding torpedoes that hit the Dauntless started puking out giant metal beasties, I quickly put my baby together, loaded up my favorite caliber of fuck you, and took just the right amount of time I needed to completely ruin a pirate's day. The hallways turned it all into a turkey shoot. Their weapons were effective for about 10 meters, and a range that short against my gun was just insulting. I managed to get about a dozen shots off, 3 confirmed as kills, and the rest opening the idiots up for those with more close-range weaponry. The shotgun boys really had fun with face-to-face, and the grenadiers were pissy that they couldn't use their babies in the ship. Standard troopers had a standard good time, basic bitches. That's when the second volley of torpedoes came and opened up the wall to my immediate right. It bounced me off the one opposite, and by the time I could put 2 thoughts together, I only had time enough to look some energy weapon right down the shaft and eat a face full of electricity. I woke up in this tiny cube with a reinforced door worthy of a bulkhead in cool but not cold air. The vents are reinforced, magnetically sealed too, meaning I can't rip them out, on top of the fact that I'm clearly being watched. I patted myself down to check for what I'd been left with, my clothes, which include a Kevlar weaved under vest, my steel-toed boots with hidden knives, and that's about it. They'd taken my baby, my sidearm, backup revolver, and the few grenades I had on me. It's the revolver that's pissing me off. That gun had been a gift from my father. Despite his divorce with Mom being bad, he still had the names of my entire immediate family burned into the wooden grip. A way to hold my family close even light years away, all around a cheesy but sweet gesture. I'm going to get my chance to escape soon, and when it comes I have to be ready. When I get tired of lying around and waiting for something to happen, I sit up with my legs crossed. Sort of. During the combat training, they drilled us on some weird Eastern way of sitting that lets you rise up fast and stay solid the whole time. A neat trick, but the unarmed combat part training had been really lacking for favor of guns, vehicle combat, and the sheer time limits of getting the project off the ground. The wait isn't much longer, just long enough to make me really wish there was a toilet regardless of the camera. As I'm contemplating pissing in the corner, the door opens, and the first thing I see is the same sort of sparking taser rifle that tagged me before. So they're not here for bullshit. That's just as useful as being sloppy. Someone sloppy you can get around easily. Someone paranoid you can drive insane. I slowly rise up, examining the armor up close for the first time. It's either a powerful and well-made robot or power armor. Bulky and angular, the thing has no obvious weaknesses from the front. Maybe the head part. Shooting it with a sniper rifle had disabled, if not killed, the others. The guns of shot end up overloading and paralyzing these things, meaning they're not shielded against their own weapons. Open them up for all sorts of fun. A bit of a mistake, really. It's painted mostly dark red with patches of black that have skulls and crossbones for some godforsaken reason. There's what looks like a score tally across the left side of its chest. A chest that likely contains some kind of missile port, or the big guns for the way it sticks out. Come. Now. It orders in a mechanical monotone, taking a step back and not giving me a chance. I step out, staring right at its head. At least I assume the chunk on the top with a glowing red sensor line is where the head is, or at least where whatever is controlling this thing is seeing me from. A sensor line surrounded by reflective material, meaning I got a sort of plan. There's another of the big stompy mechs with another sparky taser gun. It turns away from me and begins to move as the first one gestures for me to start moving with its weapon. I spot what looks like handholds in the back of the departing armor and can see a few seams, either for repair or to get a pilot in or out. It can still go either way, but I'm leaning more towards these things being piloted. I look over my shoulder and pay close attention to the reflection in the mech sensor. I keep pace with wherever they're marching me to as I give them the best lazy eye I can. It takes only a few moments before the weapon is raised at me, but I refuse to react. Just keep pace and keep glaring. Stop staring over your shoulder at me. The mech pilot orders. This easily confirms that there's someone either in there or remote controlling it. A machine would take a lot longer to freak, unless you had a weird AI in control. In response, I turn around and start walking backwards, not missing a step and not losing pace. With both my eyes digging holes through the suit's sensors, I can almost feel the pilot start to sweat. Whatever they expected out of me, this was not it. Good. Stop it. The pilot orders, and I slowly shake my head. Stop it. They order again. Are they really cracking this fast? I double the glare as best I can. If I was in a cartoon, my eyes would be stretching out of my head. Stop it. They scream so loudly I can hear it through the suit itself and the speaker. There's a woman in there. The gun starts to spark, and I slide to the side. The blast of electricity hits the other mech, and I throw myself forward to power slide between its legs before turning around and climbing up the back with the handholds. The topmost one has a button in it, and it unlatches the panels in the back. No! The woman piloting the mech screeches in protest, flailing around and ripping a panel off the wall. My grip isn't all that good, and the moment the shock wears off, I'm dead. So I kick off and dash into the opening rather than fight a battle I'm slowly losing. My time in engineering training taught me what these are: a maintenance hallway. FDL-capable ships need a lot of wires and tubes going around for all the little systems that need to fire off perfectly. So many, in fact, that all the walls are pressing by anywhere from a few feet to a few meters. Usually a few meters. This one is a meters version, and I have room to dash down the maintenance hallway. I reach the small bulkhead with ladder that goes up and down the levels and quickly get myself down an entire segment of the ship. I seal it after me to buy a few more moments. Okay, now I'm in the guts of the place. I just need a map and a bathroom, and then I can really start raising hell. Bit of a warning up top here. There's some steaminess in this chapter, but it's nothing spelled out. So not NSFW, but those with delicate sensibilities are warned. On with the show. Thankfully, the bathrooms in this place are borderline human standard, a bit big with enough legroom in the tub to qualify as a swimming pool, but otherwise standard. Thank God for that. Zero-G toilets are uncomfortable and annoying. A vacuum up to your butt or dick when you're not in the mood to fool around is just weird. Getting into and out of the maintenance hallways is easy when you figure out the particular ship's latches and such. I get in good and quick and rush toward a nearby ladder. As I hear a big stompy mech show up at the bathroom I was just at, and I get up to the next level. There's the slam of the panel into the maintenance hallway and some fast movement, and I know I was spotted going up, so I go back down and rush ahead. After all, if they think you're up, go down. If they think you're down, go left. I give them a trail more akin to the Gordian, not than anything else, for about an hour before calming down and leaning out to try and find some place with either weapons or a map of some kind before ducking back into do so again elsewhere. A few hours of poking around and avoiding patrols here and there, and I find myself near the front of the ship. Science fiction would tell me that this is where the helm and such is located. On the Dauntless, it's actually in the middle of the ship and behind so much armor that you have to shear away most of the vessel before actually getting to command crew, life support, or engine controls. After a short time, I find one of the alien women going at a communicator under her breath as she activates it. I crack open the panel and get a glance in. It's some kind of quadrupedal dog woman. I don't know how better to explain it. It's like someone took a dog and tried to make a porn star out of it, but never bothered to get her to stand upright, and only seriously feminized the face rather than replace it. The alien is still covered in fur, but is also in what seems a patchwork business suit. A bandana keeps her absurdly long blonde hair out her face, as she sits down like a dog and adjusts her massive mane. Also, she's huge. If she stood upright, she'd be maybe 9 feet tall and ridiculously proportioned by any stretch of the imagination. There are discolorations in small straight lines through her gray fur. Possible scars? I crouch down low with my right boot knife held ready, just in case. Hello, Captain Lilpaw. I take it from your expression that the raid didn't go as expected. Another woman's voice asks on the opposite end. This is getting ridiculous. The first 2 or 3 encounters being female only was odd, but not really worth notice. Having nothing but female encounters with the official first contact over communications. The pirates that took him, and now their sponsor? Where are the males? No, the ship was unexpectedly armed on top of the absurd armor needed for cruel space. The humans used kinetic and explosive weaponry with an obsessive fervor. Captain Lilpaw answers with her entire frame drooping. Oh, that was unfair. Having a woman that looks like a puppy and a porn star at the same time as my enemy is a low blow. What about boarding parties? The sponsor asks. I can't see the screen past Lilpaw's enormous chest. If I wasn't planning on killing her, then this situation would be out of a particularly depraved porno. We're only missing the badly hidden zipper on the alien outfit for me to be Dick Nova, alien penetrator. Everyone on that wretched ship was armed to the teeth. The fatality rating was over 90%. They reacted so fast. They were so well armed. The humans aren't here for peace. Their ship is military, elite military too. We only managed to get one, and the crazy beast is running rampant on my ship as we speak, taking an almost sadistic pleasure in confounding my hunters. I see, and the rumors? Are they really? The sponsor asks, trailing off. Male? Yes. Almost every single skin we have and every picture we got during the failed raid was of a man. Even better, the one we captured is a man as well. A cute one. It took a lot of threats and even a few injuries before I had him thrown into a cell rather than dragged into some woman's bunk. Okay, so we have some product for the meat market. Tell me, how close to being in season do you think he is? So there's slave trade? Fuck. Well, damn. I really need my guns now. Or maybe hers if it's not DNA encoded or something. The male thing I put aside for later. He's in season right now. That's why I had to break a few limbs to get him into a cell unarmed but untouched. The sheer smell of him still has my head spinning. He's so deep in season that half the crew are trying to follow their noses, and to make it worse, he's not stupid and is using the maintenance tunnels like a personal playground. How'd he get out? We were transporting him to a film studio so we could get some good shots for a sale when he freaked out one of the guards enough to get her to shoot at him with her stun cannon. He dodged a zero-range shot which hit the other guard and then slipped between her legs before climbing onto the back of her armor and trying to get in, giving the girl a panic attack. Then he vanished. By the time she came to her senses, she saw that she accidentally tore open a maintenance panel and he was gone. Surely you have some idea where he went. We got a hint of him when a refresher was used about 5 decks away from his original cell, and a glimpse was caught of him by a patrol woman who had been heading to that one anyways. She saw him going up, but he tripped the sensor 3 decks down before deciding to bounce from one end of the ship to the other like a child's toy launched out of a railgun. No escape pods have been launched. All shuttles are accounted for, and every weapon and suit is power locked, but he's vanished. The only comfort is that he hasn't gone away because his people are still talking about rescuing him through the bug we planted. Lilpaw rants in frustration before rubbing a paw down her mane, panting a little as she does. I narrow my eyes at this revelation. They've got a bug on the Dauntless? Something else to look into. Well, he's a typical male at least, stuck in a pirate ship, and the first thing he does is make sure he looks his best. The sponsor says with a slight chuckle, causing Lilpaw to laugh. I trust the ship is locked down, so you've got him penned in? Yes. Every pod is keyed to our weapon keys, and the shuttles need not only a weapon key, but a password to activate now. He's not going anywhere but in front of the cameras, then to a customer that will be giving up a planetary ransom for the first human slave on the market. She says before taking a gulp of air and fidgeting. What is the matter with you, Captain? Pressure getting to your furred head. The sponsor demands, implying that she herself is not furred. I have no idea if that narrows things down a little or a lot. It's his pheromones. He must have passed by my cabin. Aye. She starts panting a bit before moaning. It's powerful stuff. He's in the peak of his season. How he can even move is a miracle. She groans out, and I blink in confusion. Do they think that pitching a tent somehow stops me from doing anything? Good. That just raises his price. Catch him and get him in front of the cameras. Then we can sell him as unique, untouched goods. After that, you can ride him as you please as recompense. The travel times alone to anyone's private collection will give him time enough to come out of season, so no one's missing anything. Thank you. Aye. Catch another 10 or so, and I'll even let you keep one. Fresh faces on the slave market sell well, and I can be very generous to those who get me products like that. The obvious brains behind this raid says to her muscle. Not that I can afford to underestimate Lil Paw here. For all I know the second to call, and she'll pounce on me through the wall panel. And with the way my luck is going, these broads likely eat their mates after breaking the pelvis. No way of knowing one way or the other. But I need a good look at the boss lady that Lil Paw has started some suck-up ritual towards. Luckily, there are a lot of reinforced pipes right behind me. No electricity running through them, and they're very well secured. Thankfully, they can take my weight as I climb up them and lean out to look through the slight gap as best I can. It's not enough, so I crack it open a hair further. The boss of this pirate captain is in a properly formal suit and has a camera set at an angle that's giving me one hell of an upskirt shot. It's clearly designed to make her look towering even on the small screen. I'm uncertain if her skin is pitch black or she's got a really dark shade of some sort of fine fur. She's also got glowing markings on each cheek, bright yellow to match her glowing eyes. I'm not sure if they're natural or artificial, but it's a clue. Her proportions are just as backbreakingly absurd as Lil Paw's, if not more so. A human woman with those kind of proportions would be a freak of nature and barely able to stand upright without mechanical assistance. Any time on a trampoline would snap her back in half. I wonder if that could be used as some sort of torture implement against these aliens? I shake my head and refocus. She either has a strange hat on or her species has long ears stretching upwards with more bright yellow glowing markings near the tips. There's a cat-like demeanor to her beyond the clearly female portions and clear rabbit ears, if they're ears. Very female, as I can tell the woman clearly wears a size or two too small for her undergarments. The suit is shockingly normal, looking in creamy off-white, miniskirt, jacket button-up, and a crimson tie. Strange things to be universal, but there you go. No earrings or jewelry I can see beyond a bright silver, or maybe platinum ring on her left middle finger. A wedding band? A status symbol? A vanity? I need more information. High-heeled shoes in glossy red. Another oddity. And I think I can see the outline of some kind of hidden weapon tucked in on each side of her jacket. Either that or the bra she's got on is as literal as the term industrial strength can get. It would have to be for those oversized melons. Best I can tell, this band of raiders is sponsored by a CEO of some company or another, so she can pocket extra profit and likely lean on her competitors and maybe even kill troublemakers in her own company. Shit, I'm in some kind of action movie, aren't I? Now the question is, am I the hero, the cannon fodder, or the hostage? It can go any which way, to be honest. I'm dealing with the equivalent of an insurance company whose head hires out a biker gang to make sure that his premium is bought then never used. Plus slave trading on the side just to be extra evil. Hot alien chick, or not, I'm putting a bullet in her. The call is cut off through Lil Paw's fawning, and she bats aside the screen before reaching down and moaning out loud. I keep quiet as I slip down, sheathe my knife, and slowly open the panel even as the alien woman pleasures herself into a puddle. So these aliens are weak to pheromones? Even the small amount of sweating I've been doing in this light cardio workout's been enough to reduce this woman into a moaning heap. I quickly case the room the moment I stick my head out. There's what looks like a computer terminal nearby, with what looks like a small 3D printer or a replication machine right next to it. And lucky for me, Lil Paw, keeping herself busy and facing the wall opposite. Good enough. I slip into the room, completely inaudible over the sounds the woman is making. I do my best to ignore the absurd distraction as I activate the computer and smile. No password and no fingerprints or anything. It must work off proximity to her chip, if it has any protections at all. And considering I'm maybe 2 of her body lengths away from the woman, it counts it as her accessing things. I turn off any volume and set things to text only. It's in Galactic trade, which is good and easy. It's one of those languages that are easy to master but hard to learn. Once you've got its rules and most of the sounds down, you can slam your way through anything spoken or written on context. Ship outline. It's vaguely rectangle shaped with a wedge at the front with two large chunks full of engines in the back and a bunch of laser banks on both the top and bottom. A Jules-class interceptor, it's called. The registry has it as a claw and it's got a clear purpose to get in fast, hit hard, and get out before there's much hit back. From what I'm reading of its boarding torpedo tubes and comparatively weak armor, and shields supports a frames in and out philosophy. This thing is mean and quick. Basically what my kind would call a corvette, a flying sucker punch. Internals of the ship has this placed near the bow. Apparently I'm a few rooms away from the helm. Good to know. There are several armories, but no indication where my weapons are. That's annoying. The captain seems to get her second wind in self-satisfaction, and I turn to shoot her a dirty look for a moment. Damn woman. Have some self-respect. A bit more poking into weapons and administration, and I smile widely. So the small div in the wall next to the computer isn't a replicator or printer. It's a universal installer for access chips. With the captain blaring approval mentally due to her fun times, I have full access. Full access that lets me make an account of equal authority. One just for me. It's set up quickly, then I use the approval from my account and hers to first make it, so that we cannot override each other's decisions, then use the unending approval from her to help me make a new highest rank on the ship for myself with full override power. Now I just need to put my hand in the panel. A beam of light basically teleports the thing into the middle of my palm before the machine lets out a chime. Welcome, Commander. The ship says in a deep male voice, and I freeze. The room is dead silent. There's movement. Don't. I say, holding up a finger, but not moving otherwise. This throws her off her game. Don't what? How did you get in here? Why did it call you Commander? Lilpaw demands. I'm not doing that whole turnaround, and behold the monster bullshit. Go back to your fun. Now. I order, pointing down now. Still haven't turned. Monster. An alien creature that kidnapped me and is planning on selling me into slavery, and likely a gruesome death on the torture table of some sick lunatic. Sounds pretty monstrous to me. I reply, watching her from the reflection off the screen. She's pacing and possibly distressed. How this species evolved to the point of sentiency is beyond me. She's too bulky, and if she tried to crouch down, she'd crush her breasts. Hey, wait. Care to answer a question? I'll return the favor, Captain Lilpaw. I say, and she freezes. You know my name? She asks in a somewhat stunned tone. I won't count that, but yes, I do. I say, watching the reflection. She's completely still, but for her tail, it wagged when I said I knew her name. If she's like an earth dog in any respect, then I just gave her an endorphin rush. What's your question? What's with your proportions? They're appealing, but they get you killed by predators evolution-wise. Or is cosmetic surgery common? What? No, we have to bulk up like this. It shows we not only have all the meat a mate could want, but are ready to bear children. In lean times, we slim down a lot, but with advanced farming and ranching, most girls are always ready. That implies it's the females that seek mates out? I ask in a slightly shocked tone. Well, yeah, isn't that normal? You only need one male to keep a small village pregnant and reproducing if he's in season. Doesn't it work like that with your kind? It can, but the males compete with each other for the females. Now, what's your actual question? I ask, turning around to face her as I cover computer monitor. A few taps to turn it off and somewhat hide all the research I made. I need to make a dash, and I need to see her all the better. Her tail starts really wagging at the side of the tent. Is that for... what proportion of your kind is male? 1 per 100 as normal? 2 per 100? 3 per 100? She asks, her voice getting lower and more salacious with her every iteration. 100 per 100. I answer and she goes still. What? Her tone is utter disbelief. Equal chance of male or female at conception. I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. I answer, and her eyes go comically wide. An entire world of hunks trapped in the middle of cruel space. The galaxy is a complete and utter sadist. She pants, tensing up and shuddering. She takes a deep breath to steady herself, but apparently my pheromones are just that much of a whammy as she wobbles and pants. I take this time to casually walk over to the maintenance panel, open it up and walk back in. Hey, wait. She protests as I close the door and move off. I rush past the bulkhead and close it behind me before listening. She thinks I went up, a reasonable assumption. I start walking away casually as I consider things. I now have full authority in the ship that can't be superseded by anything. Unless they got some solid hackers on board, likely, then they can't keep me in or out of anywhere. But more importantly, the nature of her questions not only tells me why I've been taken prisoner, but also that if I was made of solid gold and left a trail of flawless diamonds, as I still wouldn't be half as actually valuable as I am, they won't risk anything damaging the merchandise. The stun cannons are likely as heavy and hard as they'll go. Now I have a plan. Time to get to work then. Captain Lilpo rushed through her ship, gathering as many of her pirates as possible. After the failed attack on a human vessel, they were down by a full quarter of their numbers. How many dead and how many captured was unknown, but policy was that there were no jailbreaks of those stupid enough to be caught, and only 1 in 10 had gotten out. With the overpowered pheromones of their only prize burning out of her system, she had been able to clear her head enough to take a suppressant. Then she had made a ship-wide announcement to make sure everyone had the lust blocker in their system. Just a few minutes of marinating in his scent had nearly driven her insane and given him enough time to hack into the systems. His price tag was going up and up, and if he was the type to escape, he might even be a repeating investment. After all, catching a runaway slave and keeping everything hush-hush is good money, especially if his pheromones have an addictive quality beyond basic bonding. They'll be able to name a price each recapture, not to mention the original sale. At first, they tracked his fancy new key chip, and then he caught wise and got to another terminal. He was off the grid now, and they had to scour the ship from end to end. To make matters worse, he would play merry havoc with all the ship systems the moment he got near another terminal, which was getting more and more frequent. What few computer technicians she were locked out of the system in such a way that if they were within 10 meters of a terminal, they would automatically deactivate. Then anyone she sent near a terminal would cause it to power down. The moment the power went up again, it started its shutdown sequence if any of their chips were nearby. That was both impressive and infuriating. She'd have to beat how he did it out of him once she was done beating the wretch for what he did to her in her own quarters. Embarrassing her in front of their main meal ticket? It was bad enough that she had to suck up to the self-important slag, but doing it while going insane from lust? She would take his next 20 children from him, and make sure to raise each and every one to hate his guts. Captain, Jean Gay, one of her helm officers, asks on the open channel. The limbless communications officer was more than a little typecast for her species, but good at her job. What is it, Jean Gay? Any sign of the prisoner? Not yet, but our allied vessel is coming in. I didn't know you had some secret friends to help out, but they'll be a relief. What allied vessel? She demands as her blood runs cold. This enormous one, a battleship. You explain it to me via text so that the prisoner couldn't listen in. You idiot! How far off is the ship? We need to get out of here on maximum burn yesterday. They've already engaged the docking clamps. Jean Gay mutters in shame. And they're so big that if you try to accelerate out of grip, you'll rip this ship apart. I win. Also, I have my guns back. The prisoner chimes up over the onboard comms. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I've been listening in for a while. And no, you won't be getting away. I've got complete control. Also, you people don't check near the engines anywhere near enough. I practically set up a base camp down there. He mocks them even as the entire vessel shudders. Also, I've turned off your weaponry. Having them all controlled through a central component gives them an easy method of attack and sabotage. Also, your mechs are powering down. Damn you. She screams out in frustration before the sound of the airlock's manual overrides being activated echoes. Captain, what do we do? Well, I, as commander, suggest you surrender and be ready to talk. My kind believe in redemption and clemency, meaning that if you play nice with the arresting officers, you get a lighter sentence. Not to mention, I personally see opportunity here, and I think the Admiral will too. One you will like almost as much as he and I will. What kind of opportunity? She asks, trying to find any kind of way out of this mess, and he chuckles. I'd like to clear it with the Admiral first. Don't want to unreasonably get your hopes up. Anyways, play nice with the army of heavily armed and thoroughly unamused men, and they'll play nice right back. He offers and the nearby maintenance panel opens. Okay, he asks with a big smile. Hey, don't try it. He says, stepping out fully with a small weapon at the ready. The deactivated electrical cannons are useless in their hands, but sheer reflex calls him to bring them up. I've got 11 hollow points in here. Each one will tear apart your internals, and energy shields do nothing. These are kinetic, he says before pulling something off his belt. And this is a grenade, a chemical explosive that wreaks absolute havoc and death in these close quarters. I activate this and we all die. A few moments pass and the airlock opens entirely. Contacts, we have our man here. A black-clad and armored man shouts out. The former prisoner lowers his weapon. Are you injured? Negative. I have subverted the enemy vessel and have both a great deal of information and need to speak with the admiral. We have a flashpoint possibility. He says, and the soldier nods. Use my radio. The soldier invites, not taking his aim away from the small search group. The other one sheathes his weapon and grenade before walking up to his fellow. Be gentle with him. We have an interesting opportunity here. The former prisoner says, grabbing a device off the shoulder of the soldier. This is Miles, Brent Code Sierra. Tango Alpha 00228 confirmed. He states into the device, and there's a burst of static. Code confirmed. Good to have you back, soldier. Report to medical, please. I'm going, but I need to speak with the Admiral as soon as possible. In person. We have an opportunity here, and it would behoove us not to miss it. He says into the device before it gives another burst of static. Confirmed. Get moving, he'll see you there. The person on the other side orders him. On my way. He replies before tucking the device back into the shoulder strap, then moving out. All right then, ladies. Nice and slow. Otherwise, we start putting holes in people. The soldier says before forcing him out and through a reinforced hallway and into a large cargo chamber with numerous ship-grade weapons pointed at them. The entirety of her crew is marched in, including a surprising number of the boarding crew she thought lost. They're dripping with desire and barely able to move properly. The entire ship really is full of men, isn't it? No questions. No interrogations, no nothing. Then after a long enough time for the lust suppressant to start to break down, the pheromones in the air makes everyone start to squirm, and not just a returned boarding crew. Then the door open and a small crowd files in. Was this time to put them all at disadvantage? At the front is a man in a formal uniform with graying hair and a harsh glare. His presence is one of intimidation and strict brutality. The sort of thing from those schlocky movies where societies of warrior men were found, or perhaps one had been found, in cruel space. Captain Agenda Lilpaw? The high-ranking human asks, and she nods. I am Admiral Garfield Cistern, leader of this endeavor. Your ship and crew are at my mercy. He states plainly, and she glares at him, a mercy that you will be able to take full advantage of. Now she's intrigued. As my soldier commander Brent has pointed out to me, I have need of additional ships, further crew and local intelligence, particularly the unsavory parts of the galaxy and less than legal societies. Right now my species is everything in one oversized troop transport. That's not good enough. Wait, is he trying to recruit her? To this end, I want to sponsor your group of miscreants as privateers. To that end, you will willingly share all information with us. We will openly deny that we have anything in common, but in secret we will be giving you supplies, and our ships will only fire upon yours if we are under the observation of other entities. We'll also be missing a great deal in such circumstances. Admiral Cistern explains, and Lilpaw's jaw is dropped. She regains her composure and gives out a huff. And what exactly will you be wanting of me and my crew? I don't have a problem with a sponsor to keep us flying, but what do we lose? There will be 10 of my men on your ship with veto power. If they say a certain target isn't to be hit, then it's left alone. We also get first refusal of loot you capture, meaning you come to us first to sell whatever you steal. We will pay in full, don't you worry. This also means a guaranteed market for you girls. Finally, we will be sharing information and will occasionally require special missions from you. You will be paid richly for those missions, and we'll be using commanders we station on your ship as our liaisons between you and us. You want to talk to us, you talk to one of them. We want to talk to you, then we talk to one of them. And what's stopping us from just flying off with everything you're about to give me and never hearing from us again? Because if we don't get a monthly report from them with the proper code phrases, then we will hunt you down and hurl every member of your crew into the nearest star before using your ship and a few puppets designed to resemble you in order to do the raiding, spying, and assassination ourselves. Servitude or death, what a wonderful choice. Captain Lilpaw growls out with her hackles rising, behaving like you actually have standards and prospering, or throwing away any semblance of being anything more than an animal and dying. The Admiral counters, and she huffs. The commanders you will be putting on my ship, what authority do I have over them? It's my ship. I know it. I run it. I put my blood into making it run as well as it does. She demands, and the Admiral sniffs. Do not think me unaware of the unusual gender divide in the galaxy. These men are volunteers already tested, so that they won't start a plague if they perform the duty you're no doubt thinking of now. Really? She asks in a doubtful tone. Yes, really. We've also gotten preliminary tests out of the way. There is risk of pregnancy if you overindulge. The Admiral remarks, and some of the men behind him look away somewhat as if embarrassed. Finally, a normal reaction from these crazy humans. That's not a risk, that's a prize. Captain Lilpaw all but purrs. So they are a standard race, one with a weird gender ratio, but that's just a good thing. Still, confirmation they're clean, fertile, and capable makes the temptation run really, really high. That one, the one we caught then brought you upon us. I want him, she says, pointing to her former captive with a leer. The man, rather than flinching back, raises an eyebrow and smirks. Captain, this is his idea, he says before glancing back at the suddenly bashful-looking soldier. You learn things you never wanted to about your men with the things they sign up for. The Admiral says before looking back to Captain Lilpaw. His information is also what gives you your first mission. Oh, what did he see that pissed him off enough to make him want to sick her entire crew on them? Commander Brent will give you the details. This first assignment is non-negotiable. Furthermore, you must sign this if you are to be one of ours, he says, and is handed a briefcase by Brent that he opens up and lays between them. This is a contract with your writ of piracy. Basically, if any other human vessel somehow or for some reason catches you, and yours, you can show them this and be released. So even if I'm replaced, you will have this. Admiral's sister explains, and she picks up the paper. It's to the point legal talk, but solid looking. If this has some hidden clause, or whatever, then I'm counting the whole thing as a trap and letting the galaxy know you're sponsoring pirates. She says with her eyes narrowed, and he nods. Understood. The Admiral says calmly before she goes back to the paper. It seems on the up and up, straightforward and legit. He's also effectively giving her hostages. What's the first thing you want out of me? She asks plainly. It's the deal breaker. What do you want? We want you to turn on your sponsor that was looking to have you kidnapped and sell our people. We want her kidnapped from her home and handed to our interrogators. We want her business raided and its assets stolen. Take everything not nailed down and pry up what is. Burn the rest and fly cackling into the night. We'll pay premium prices on everything in return, and you get to name the price for the sponsor. He explains, and her jaw drops. What's the catch? We have less than an hour to get everything into your ship and settled, and we're not starting till you sign the contract. He says, and she focuses hard. A very fast skimming of the contract, and she signs her name on it. He signs his name as well, and then closes the case to hand it to her. My men are yours, Captain. Glad to have you aboard. The Admiral says, saluting her before turning around. Move out, men. I want that ship loaded and prepped 20 minutes ago. Go, go, go. He roars, and the 10 men behind him rush away along with a huge number of crewmen. What are you putting on my ship? Captain Lilpaw demands, and the Admiral turns to her. 2 months' worth of food supplies, 3 weeks of fuel in solid state, and 2 in liquid. The materials and tools to make a gunsmithing laboratory so that my men can maintain and improve their weaponry. Even produce more if it's requested of them. They will also be moving on their personal effects and the extra training materials we're having them complete. Extra training? Make no mistake, all 10 are excellent combatants. The training they underwent had a 95% failure ratio over 2.5 years, and each of them got through. However, the training was about local languages and combat, as well as ship navigation and maintenance. They can destroy enemy positions and will raise unimaginable havoc to the enemy if given half a chance. Yes, the one we caught proved that right. Miles Brent passed by the slimmest of margins. Right at the line of failure, I and the other examiners personally saw him as the sort to finish all of his jobs, even if it meant he was leaving chunks of himself behind. He's one of the weakest links on our ship, but a laudably stubborn son of a bitch. Regardless, a pass is a pass. He, along with the others, will be learning about leadership, logistics, and everything we know about diplomacy and galactic politics, as well as several lessons from our own age of piracy. These 10 will not be a burden to your crew, and if they prove to be a burden, contact me and they will be replaced. I see. What about shore leave and such? Keeping specific crew members on board every time tends to lead to sabotage. Captain Lilpaw says, and he nods. The story we'll use is that you seduce them, and we'll disavow them as criminals officially. So sure, take them out and show them off if you want to. The Admiral says, they're giving up everything for this crazy plan. Lilpaw suddenly realizes, almost, there's a way back, but it won't be ready for years. It'll take a solid 5 years at minimum, likely 10 to 20. 5 years of absolute loyalty, with up to 20 before they have anywhere to go. Draft boards don't get a quarter of that from their recruits. Captain Lilpaw says before smirking, 5 years to seduce those men as much as I want. Perfect, she mutters before glancing around. The hell are you all doing sitting on your hands? Get back to the ship. We've got ourselves loot to take, and a bitch to deliver to our new friends here. We go where the money is. Spin up the engines, power the shields, and get the bafflers going. We got a raid up ahead. Her orders roar out, and her entire crew break out of the trance that her conversation with the Admiral had lulled them into, and they scramble, flap, skitter, and slither as appropriate back to the airlock. They're a bottleneck that makes her snort a little, but it quickly sorts itself out as she slinks calmly back onto familiar deck plating. Her ship is blasting with activity, and a nearby terminal tells her a little something. All 10 of her newest recruits are in a previously unused storage room, working on something feverishly. Apparently, Brent is extremely quick on the uptake and already chipped all the others. Up 2 levels and a quarter of the way down the ship, the door opens, and she walks inside to see 8 of them setting up several different machines as the last 2 are going around and bolting the machines to the floor. Captain on deck! One of them shouts, and all the activity stops, and she gets a smart salute from each and every one of them. She scoffs, appreciative but scornful of such things. She doesn't walk far in. Her head is already starting to swim from the scent of all these fertile and virile males so close together. All for her and her crew. It's an effortable not to drool. This is a pirate ship. I don't want salutes, I want results. She says, and all of them but that freaking Brent rush back to work. Fair enough, Captain. I hope you don't mind if I'm the one giving explanations, he says, and she grins salaciously. Oh, don't worry. You'll be giving me a lot of explanations come tonight. But I want to know what kind of mess you're setting up in my storage room, she says, and he nods before taking a stance with his feet shoulder-width apart and his hand clasped behind his back. This is a gunsmithing workshop and laboratory. We will be creating long-range kinetic weaponry in here, as well as experiment to create better models and custom models for the many different crew members. This is also where we will be manufacturing the ammunition and performing maintenance on damaged weapons. We have a 3D printer for plastic part manufacture. We're also setting up a multi-bit drill, a metal press, a lathe for metal and wood, a belt sander, and a grinder. We also have a bullet press and a small chemical workstation. Finally, we'll be making a lot of use out of the foundry and scrap recycling chambers on this deck. I see. What can you start handing out first? Easiest and the fastest is to use a 3D printer and plastic. The weapons come out more fragile than a metal one, but can be produced in huge quantities quickly. Brent answers, and she nods at the thought. We can start now if you want cheap handguns, Proper rifles are too powerful, and forget about a plastic shotgun. However, we can pump out standard handguns roughly at a rate of one every half hour. He says, and she must have let her confusion show. This is a handgun. He says, drawing out a weapon from a holster hidden under his left armpit. It's held easily in a singular hand. He flicks a switch and holds out to her. Metal. She asks, taking it and examining the weapon for a moment before handing it back. It makes a more enduring weapon. It will require regular maintenance and cleaning, as opposed to a plastic one that after a short time will warp and begin to misfire. Brent explains as he tucks the weapon away again. So it's like a stealth plasma caster compared to a multi-plasma caster and a long-range caster, I assume? It sounds like handgun to automatic to rifle. We'll be making all of those. Good. Now, Captain? Jean Gay asks through the comms above her. Talk. She orders. We're ready to head out. We need you up here. The comms officer says, and she nods. All right then, gentlemen. Carry on. I'll be assigning you all bunks shortly. Just get this done. Mealtime is in 4 standard hours. Yes, ma'am. They call out as one, and Brent gives her another salute. She just shakes her head as she walks off. The moment the door closes, she lets out a huge breath and shudders. Oh boy. If they're willing, then half my crew is getting gravid in short order, a prize beyond any amount of simple resources. 10 males on the vessel, an embarrassment of riches. She mutters to herself before shaking herself to clear her thoughts, and then making for the helm at a fast lope. Captain Agenda Lilpaw stalked into the mess hall, ready to kill the next woman, who demanded that one of the humans bunk with her. Her hackles were up, and her crew cleared a path as she prowled forward, many of them choking as they did, so as most of them seemed to be filleting their meals rather than eating them. A dangerous proposition, when the main course was skewered meat with a side of roasted tubers and some veggies for balance, a bit of everything so that every type of digestion was accounted for. Hundreds of otherwise hardened pirates are grinding their thighs together and clearly daring each other to be the first one to jump the small gaggle of males in the middle of the room. There's a ring around them that starts nearly 4 meters from the lot. One side, you thirsty idiots. Eat your food, stop playing with it, and then get back to work for pity's sake. She orders, shoving several crew members out of her way and sitting right next to them. Captain, the nearest male, larger than the rest with very dark skin and short, neat, braided rolls in his dark hair, salutes her. She scowls. Right, no salutes. Sorry, he says. Do you idiots know how many demands I've gotten about your sleeping arrangements? She hisses at them in a simmering rage. 5 to 10 times the actual population of the ship. One of them mentions, wait, that's almost exactly as it was roughly 7.3 times. You shit's been hacking the ship? Again, yes'm. The same one answers. He's smaller, and has a flatter face with somewhat paler skin and short dark hair, and a pair of corrective glass lenses resting on his nose that has arms that reach back to his ears. It's very easy. Christ Ryu, you're going to drive her to drink. The largest one notes with a shake of his head. I already drink. Agenda huffs, eyeing the half full pitcher of booze in the middle of the table. Drive her to drink more. Not that this horse piss really counts as a proper drink. The next biggest one states, he's a study in opposites with the other large one. Just as big, smaller only by a tiny measurement, but pale in all aspects from nearly white skin to yellow tinge hair to pale blue eyes. What's a horse, and why are you comparing our booze to its piss? Because this stuff is weak as piss, and a horse is a herd and draft animal our species domesticated in antiquity. We even rode the bastards of war. The pale big one says, shaking the pitcher and taking a sniff before glancing over at Agenda. Speaking of horses, Captain, you look like you've been run down by a herd of them, Brent notices from 3 places down. He then grabs his plate and wipes it down before putting his last skewer back on it. Load it up with your spares, gents. He orders, holding the plate out before wiping off his fork and putting onto the plate even as samples of tubers, vegetables, and a few more skewers are piled onto it. It lands in front of her as a massive mouth-watering mound of food with a half-full pitcher of booze right beside it. She pauses. You know that bribing me with food and drink from my own damn kitchen is a shit attempt at currying favor right. She asks, "That only matters if it doesn't work, Captain." The large dark one notes, and she snorts in amusement before grabbing 2 of the skewers and all but inhaling the meat off them in her hunger. After the first bite of temptation is taken, her restraint vanishes, and she savages the meal with all she has. She has to use the booze as more of a dining aid, so that she doesn't choke on a couple of occasions before letting out a satisfied sigh. The sound of restrained laughter has her glare at the cretinous males forced into her crew, and they clamp down on it tighter, but are clearly even more amused. Her mood is improved with a full stomach regardless of the terrible company, and she takes a moment to sort her thoughts. "All right, you punks, your quarters are sorted out. This ship has 6 levels, and you're on the 2nd. Forward left. We use it for storage when we take on a globe plunder. It's up to you to furnish it, and I don't care how. Buy, borrow, make, or steal, I really don't care. If you are sleeping anywhere else, it's only with the express invitation of everyone in that room, get it? So from how thirsty these girls are, we're mostly just using that room to store our stuff, I take it?" The one sitting opposite Brent asks. His skin is pale but speckled with bits of brown, and his hair is an odd copper color. "Hey, you might finally get laid, Freckles." One at the end teases and gets an upraised middle finger from the one nicknamed Freckles. "Oh, fuck all of you. I'm gonna check on the engines. They're rattling really weird." Freckles curses as he goes to stand. "Wait, what did you say about my engines?" Agenda demands, and he looks kind of sheepish. "It's probably just me, ma'am. I've got hypersensitivity with hearing and touch, so I have a high-pitched whine with a little clicky-click buzzing in my ear. I can also feel through the deck plating." He answers, and she quickly glances to her wrist computer and sees his bio. There's a note on it in the corner beyond his name and a picture. "All right, Franklin, hold tight. Mabby, stop drooling over yourself and get over here." She bellows, and the engineer in question rushes up. "Tell her what you told me." She orders, and the human nods. "I have hypersensitivity to hearing and touch. I've been hearing a high-pitched clicking whine ever since I came on the ship, and feeling it too. I narrowed down its source to the engine, but I don't know what it means." Franklin explains, and Mabby goes from visibly "I fucking him" to confused to surprised. "Wait! There is something up. It's not urgent, so I was leaving to after dinner, but what's it sound like?" "What's the pattern?" Mabby asks, and Franklin holds up a finger before letting out a keening sound before 2 rapid clicks with his tongue. The keening noise continues before the 2 clicks repeat. "And you can hear it?" she asks when the impromptu show is finished. Her slitted eyes are wide with shock. "Feel it too, what's it mean?" This ship uses an engine for a beast an order of magnitude bigger than the Claw. It slowly shakes itself loose over a period of a few months, but if you stay on top of it, it's fine. Lets us get up and go way faster than most targeting computers can predict. We're at least a week away from the danger zone, and you can tell there's a problem that's insane. The mechanic mutters before grinning. "Come on, newbie. You're going to show me as many of the loose connectors as you can find." The felly engineer says grabbing the human with one of her dexterous but possibly deadly paws and leading him off. There are, appropriately, cat calls as they pass the rest, and a good chunk of the engineering crew break away to follow their leader and what is no doubt their new prize. I better go make sure they don't eat the poor bastard. He's clueless when it comes to people. Ryu says standing up after quickly stacking Franklin's abandoned plate and cup onto his own tray before putting his tray onto Franklin's. "Someone take those to the wash for me, please," he says before rushing off and dodging to the crowd with a grin. "I think we've been abandoned." Brent notes with a grin, even as Agenda looks into the note on Franklin's file. "The hell is high-functioning autism?" she demands, looking up, and there are some uncomfortable looks. That's not an answer. It's a mental disorder, one he was born with. Basically, he's got some over-the-top senses, is really bad at picking up social cues, and tend to be manic-focused. In his case, it's with science fiction and fantasy, so he's easily kept entertained. Brent says, and she turns over in her mind. He's clueless idiot that hears and feels more than he should? Okay, how manic are we talking? What's it going to do? She asks, just making sure this isn't some danger to her ship or crew. He's memorizing the ship inside and out as we speak. A surprising number of people like him signed up for the training. A lot of them flunked out, but a sizable portion of the graduating soldiers were completely obsessive sci-fi nerds. Franklin's one of them, right at the top. His idea of rest was mastering galactic trade, or the specifications of the warp drives. What was more work for us was restful for him. It was insane. The large pale one notes. It wasn't fair is what it was. The bastard made it look easy. I nearly went insane trying to understand things, and fallen asleep feeling like I'd been thrown down the side of a mountain, and he was smiling the whole way through. Brent grumbles, and the table laughs. You contemplated strangling him a few times, haven't you? Agenda asks with a smile. Now she was in familiar territory, bitching and griping and sassing. Try constantly instead. Don't get me wrong. I don't hate the guy. He's too nice to hate, and will apologize for things that aren't his fault. The large, dark-skinned one remarks. Typical Canadian. One of them further down notes. Bald and rounded head, but just as strong-looking as the rest. He's pale and shiny from head. He clearly polishes for some reason. Yeah, the dude's a friendly and polite Canadian, almost to the point of parody. But it's authentic. Catch him off guard, and he's still friendly and polite. That's how you know it's real. Brent finishes and notices Agenda frowning. What? Canadian? Is that some kind of subspecies? Country. Humans are a very divided species. The project to actually build and crew the Dauntless is one of the first truly international efforts. The only thing our race almost completely agrees on, with only the craziest and most superstitious people arguing against it. Me and Jake over there are both American. Brent points to the large, dark-skinned man. Our home country shares the world's largest unprotected border with Canada, Franklin's country. Ryu is Japanese, an island nation. I am Victor of Russia. The larger pale one says, Egypt is my homeland. Beck is my name, says the one next to Jake. I am Lou, a Chinese man, says the smaller man next to Victor. Jean-Luc of France, and you bastards shut the fuck up right now. One of the ones near the end says before snapping at the rest. Some of them put their hands in the air and surrender, but everyone is smiling. A few are even holding back snickers. What am I missing? Agenda asks. I share my name with a main character from a popular science fiction series. I've heard unending jokes during training in transit. There is nothing these idiots can say that I haven't heard too many times as is. Jean-Luc mutters. I mean, good God, I'm basically the man's opposite, but for the name, what more do you guys want? To know if you want to keep a card. Brent mocks him and nearly throws himself out of his seat to dodge the thrown mug. Beck catches it, then seems to toast it with it and a mocking smile. Fuck all of you. I'm going. Jean-Luc snarls, standing up and stomping out. Brent just makes a face at him as he goes. Don't forget! 4 hours rambleth on deck 4. Victor calls after him and gets a thumbs up just as Jean-Luc leaves the room. Rambo is... movie series. The first one is the only one we might not play, but the rest is some good action. We're basically taking over the tactical center on 4 to do this. Brent answers offhandedly. That happens every day anyways. If it's not an active use, then go wild. Just don't break it. Agenda remarks as she sees her crew finally start to relax around the men and filter in to sit at the same table. So there's 10 in total, but I've got 8 names only. Miles, Franklin, Jake, Ryu, Victor, Beck, Lou, and Jean-Luc. Who are the last 2? Marcus, I'm Roman. The round-headed one says quickly before taking his last bite of his skewer. I am Sai. My family hails from India. Though with the traditions of my homelands, I doubt I shall ever return. There is a dim view on piracy and such back home, even if it is sanctioned. What? One of her crew asks. Honestly, Agenda was expecting this sooner. Or more likely, it was Sai that it bothered the most. My home country is somewhat bound by an archaic caste system. I had to let go of many of my ideas and tenets of faith to merely pass the tests. Would I return even after 20 years of flawless service spending? But a day with pirates and the knock-on effects will be huge. These pirates are more advanced than nearly the entirety of India. It won't take much for you to spin it properly. Marcus tries to assure him. No, unless there's a major shift in my people. Working alongside pirates means that one will be taking the lives of others without it being in the defense of life. This is a tainting of my flesh. To remain untainted, others are not to touch me. I become untouchable. Only in India, and scorn will fall upon them if you make it known. Then they will be untouchable. If they're wise, then they shall know this and abide. Beck counters, but it clearly doesn't land. I doubt it. Still I choose the stars. Excuse me. Sai remarks, standing up and grabbing the empty trays of Ryu and Franklin before heading to the kitchen. You gonna be there for the movies? Victor calls after him, and he nods before leaving. Several crew members chase after him, no doubt seeking to comfort the poor man. You've all burned bridges, haven't you? Agenda asks as she reads the sheer weight that seems to have fallen on the men. Even going on the initial mission was burning a lot of bridges. We've severed friendships and familial ties for a shot at the stars. The smart money was on the ship being attacked, and everyone inside taken as slaves. The fact we subverted it doesn't make things much better. Jake explains before running a hand over the tight rows in his hair. Hell, I'm still wrapping my head around it, and I've got criminals in the family. We're more black ops than mafia. Victor says, and Jake nods after huffing a breath. As a small argument breaks out, a small alert goes off on her wrist computer, and she checks it before rolling her eyes. Another small bit of stupid at the helm. The girls there couldn't find filth in the sewer. Made them great at taking orders without question, and even better in a fight, as they were generally too stupid to know if they were in danger, but hot garbage for when she wasn't there to babysit them. It's a beautiful day on Skora. The planet is known for its placid conditions, making it a popular tourist destination, and refueling depot in the outer trade routes, especially for those few thrill seekers that want to get close to the edge and gaze into the great stonking aberration of death and destruction known as cruel space. All in all, Skora is a wonderful world, and home to the TRC-3 out of 100 number 1, or the Great Plain Nagasha, as they like to call themselves. Lucky bitches to the rest of the galaxy. A very reasonable people. Even if their teens and young adults tended to go heavy with massive tail piercings and huge tattoos along their scales. But hey, rebelling teens are almost up there with death and taxes for how ubiquitous they are. Officer Teresa Tritt felt a rueful smile cross her face at the thought of that. Her daughter in teenage rebellion. Bad enough when Teresa herself had gotten armor piercings or even little hollow projectors bolted to her leather plates. But if Micah follows the local patterns and gets one of those enormous tattoos, she'll have a beast of a time getting rid of it. Unlike the locals, their species doesn't shed their skin every few years. Being a Platin, or the BMO 1 out of 100 number 48, had its ups and downs. Mostly UPSs, few among the BMO classifications had natural armor plating along their body. So any sort of job in military, law enforcement, or security gave him a shoe-in. Even former punks like Teresa. Still, it'd be nice to. Her train of thought slams to a halt as within grabbing distance a male walks by. A BMO 1 out of 100 number 3 by the looks of his almost metallic hair tone and easy gait. He notices her staring and gives her a smile that sets her heart aflutter. She regains herself, reminding herself she can't just join a random tribe and marry in. She has a daughter to look after. She had paid for the insemination and everything and loved her little Micah more than herself. Even if jumping on him now would mean that she would be the first in 3 generations to actually touch a male, let alone get laid by one. With a monumental effort, she stopped herself from following him and simply adjusts her uniform to busy her hand. She's on patrol. She's looking for troublemakers and reminding would-be criminals that there are laws and consequences for breaking them. She doesn't have time to chase down the first man she'd seen in person in over a year. She takes a deep breath and lets it out, centered and calm. Then the heat, the horrible, wonderful heat. Izzy? She turns to regard him with her eyes wide. His gait has him easily halfway down the block and is being stared at by every woman he passes by, and several of the locals are outright following him at this point. The sparking scrape of their piercings and chains sending shivers down her spine. He's being followed by one of the local gangs. They're normally too cowardly to try anything but pointless posturing. But if there's a prize like that, oh yes, that's definitely her business. She mentally notes to ask whoever he's bonded with what the hell they're thinking, wasting his time in season like this. But first things first, get the poor fool out of harm's way. This is probably the first time in his life he's not been surrounded by his wives or mothers every second of the day, and she'll be damned if she lets a male lose his innocence on her watch. You! The man screams out all of a sudden and breaks into a dead sprint. Was he trying to get away from some kind of slaver? Is there a threat in the audience? He shoulder tackles another man, this one bald, who had been coming from the other direction, and they roll to the ground together. Maybe an overenthusiastic. The other man ends up on top of the first one and starts raining blows down on him with brutal meaty thunks. Sweet goddess. Someone shouts in shock as the two men become a blur of wrath. The copper top launches the other off him before kipping up and dodges opponent's charge and punching him in the side as he passes. Control! This is Officer Tritt. We got a brawl on 82nd and Winder. Males are involved. She says, activating the communicator on her lapel. Copy that, officer. You're clear to engage. Keep them safe. We're sending a car and ambulance. Control, both combatants are male. Please advise. Tritt says into her comm, and there's a pause. I'm bringing up your badge camera, please. Holy shit. They're trying to kill each other. Control exclaims as the bald one drop kicks the copper top into a ground vehicle so hard that the side dents. Not that he really notices as he seems to bounce off the bone-jarring impact into a charging left hook. So hard it sends the bald one staggering backwards before he springs forward and into a headbutt that smashes into Copper's face. Both combatants stagger back, with Copper holding his bleeding nose. There's a grunt of pain as he rights it before snorting out mucus and blood that he flicks to the ground even as the bald one spits up a bloody loogie. They exchange words in an unknown language before starting to pace around each other, each of them seeking an opening to start attacking again, but the initial flurry is over. All right, you too, good goddess. Officer Tritt starts to say to the pacing men, but that just signals them to attack each other again. The bald one gets in a quick series of 5 punches before he's grabbed by the shoulders and driven into a brutal knee by the other, a shove, and they separate, each trying to both pummel their opponent and deflect the other's attacks. A stomp from the copper one opens up the bald one to stagger back and take a few glancing blows. Someone brushes by Tritt, and she does a double take when a third man, this one very slight, with vaguely slanted eyes and a mop of short black hair shaved bald at the sides, runs along the top of several Nagasha tails, rushes past her and knocks down both fighting men before grabs something from their belts. He shouts something in an unknown language, and the other two roar back in fury. The new third man leaps onto the tails of a few Nagasha to bounce off and race through the choking crowd with the other two in hot pursuit. Control. The fight's moving towards the starport. A third has joined in. Is this some kind of insane publicity stunt? Control demands. We got nearly half the force rushing in after we confirmed the local news hounds got wind of this. We need to be seen trying to corral this madness, or they'll be roasting us over a bonfire, and oh, damn it. Now Thorn Insurance is reporting carjackers. Don't they have their own security? Teresa asks. They do so they can spin on it. We've got reports of a second brawl somewhere away from yours. All male as well. Is the entire force out? Yes. This is insane. We have report of a 4-man fight breaking out near your position. We're calling in the guard for reinforcement. We have no proper training or channels to deal with this. They have no particle launchers. They'll put these berserk men down without hurting them. No particle? That will drop everyone in the crowd if it doesn't shut down half the city. And how else are we going to get them to stop? Stun bolts and containment spray will just paralyze one and let the other two straight up murder them. We need all of them down at once, or the other one standing may take advantage of it. We don't know what set these men off, but whatever curse or drug they're under will be flattened by the null. Control argues back, and Officer Tritt has nothing to say even as she gives chase, and oh, dear goddess, no. She moans as a leading man slams into a large, dark-skinned one walking around a corner, who instantly goes so berserk, picks him up with one hand, and throws him into the other two that catch him and throw him back before tackling into him. All 4 men hit the ground in a bundle of furious blows, 4 in invectives in pure, mindless rage. To everyone's shock, the bald one, who now has his shirt in tatters, lifts up all 3 of them with a deep roar, before slamming the group as a whole into the pavement, then jumping into the mass elbow first. He's caught by the feet of the newest and largest one and launched upwards. He corrects and lands well, the wind blowing up his shirt and showing a patch along his spine with a blinking red light on it. It all falls into place. Someone here is getting some kind of sick thrill out of this and recording, which the entire crowd, including her, are doing. Damn. Control, did you catch that? Frenzy patches. I'm calling it in. We need the guard 10 minutes ago. Control answers just before the newest. Biggest one roars into the face of the smallest one as he holds the man by the shirt and starts running with him down the street, knocking aside a pair of officers like they weren't even there. Get back here! The copper one screams in fury as he and the bald one give pursuit. The two of them shove against each other and take quick swipes at one another as the insane fight continues down several blocks before the biggest one is tackled by a smaller form. There's a tumble before the big man is temporarily pinned under a dark-skinned man who throws numerous blows on him for a few moments before pursuing two tackle him off even as the dark-haired one tackles into the mess. Then the big one is up again as he grabs the dark-skinned addition and uses the poor man as a club against the other three. He only swings him twice before the copper-haired one gets behind him and tackles him at the knees, even as the dark-haired one jumps up and delivers a double drop kick to the chest. The massive figure of a guard troop transport soars overhead and slams into the street beyond them before unfolding to reveal the null wave cannon, a non-lethal but exceedingly dangerous weapon which makes use of the same strange effects prevalent in cruel space to shut down people and technology both. The short burst guarantees that no long-term harm is caused while it also wipes out any form of axiom-based drug or curses. A frenzy patch counts as both. She tunes herself into the network even as another transport soars overhead and lands near the other brawl. Today will be one to tell her daughter and any granddaughters coming up. All troopers brace yourself. Null wave particles are active and about to be unleashed. Everyone brace yourselves. No. Officer Trick calls out just as the massive gun powers up and the light drinking energy flashes out. Everyone hits the ground before they're forcibly dropped, and Officer Trick is no exception. She's fine before the wave hits her, then utterly exhausted and feeling like she's been thrown down a flight of stairs. With a grunt, she opens her eyes. The men, they're still standing, but they're not fighting. They glance around and then run off. Good. The patches were broken. Hopefully they're all just heading home. But how did they personally resist the null? How? The fuzziness of null chases her into unconsciousness, and her memories of the fight fade ever so. Several blocks away. Holy shit, they really did shut down the whole city with that. Jake says with a whistle. Also, you punks are assholes. Teaming up like that in a free-for-all. All's fair in love and war, big man. Now where the fuck's our ride? We got minutes tops before people peel themselves off the pavement, and we have to start answering questions. Beck remarks before looking oddly at Franklin. Hold still, he says before grabbing the ginger's nose and writing it properly. Franklin grunts in pain, but calms down as his breathing clears and nods thankfully. A shadow passes over them. A third piece of the military? No, a fancy-looking air car that lowers to their level, and in the driver's seat is Mercy. How much for how long, boys? She asks with a wink as all five pile in. Holy crap, you guys fine with that? Yeah, getting the hell out of Dodge is more important than comfort. Punch it back, goal. Lou orders as he and Beck share the front passenger seat as the two smallest guys, so the other three actually have room in the back. Franklin, Marcus, and Jake would all be squashed shoulder to shoulder with Jake in the middle if he wasn't leaning forward to watch out the front, and both get his own and give a fair amount of breathing room. You heard the man. Let's get moving. Marcus remarks, and Mercy slams her foot down on the accelerator. It takes only a few minutes to sort the claw and right into the main cargo bay where dozens of different air cars are already parked. Hey boys, hell of a show you gave us. The pirates call as they clamber out of the car, and Mercy soars off and almost flies into the oncoming air car that has Ryu in it. She nearly pries the door open and grabs him out of his seat to all but shove her tongue down his throat. Numerous vehicles soar in and cackling pirates hop out. After the cargo deck is nearly filled, the bulkhead doors close and the ship lurches hard before the inertial dampeners fully activate. Ladies and gentlemen, that went off perfectly. We now have 63 luxury air cars, 400,000 in loose credit discs, 200 assorted plasma and laser weapons, nearly 3 tons of explosives, entire petabytes worth of blackmail for local government officials, 100 pounds of stolen jewelry, a literal ton of designer clothing, and one severely pissed off hostage that used to be our employer. If this is any kind of example for what the humans want us to do, then we're riding on the easy lanes. Extra booze tonight, ladies. Woo! Agenda cheers through the speakers, and an answering cheer rises up from the entire crew. The men somewhat less hardy, as their own beer and vodka distilling stills haven't been perfected yet. Something wrong. Mabby asks Franklin, who sort of shrugs. Little loud. And while I'm not much of a drinker, I agree with guys. The booze here is bad. We need to get those stills pumping harder. Our own microbrewery sounds wonderful. Mabby purrs. Hey, kitty cat, what's Axiom Energy? I've been hearing about it all over the place, and apparently most everything runs on it, including you girls. But what is it? Franklin asks her, and she shrugs. It's life itself, lover boy. It binds us and connects us and holds the universe together. Mabby replies as she wraps her tail around his leg. He raises an eyebrow. Yes, explaining that a tail around the leg meant she wanted was a little embarrassing, but he didn't need to be told twice. Not to mention he was so damn attentive to her needs when they were together, except in cruel space where no, its opposite exists in enormous amounts. Franklin begins as he leans towards her before the sound of an air car revving up draws all sorts of attention. Then it disassembles itself and pulls itself back together into a massive robot woman with rabbit ears and over-the-top front and rear bumpers. The formation of the armor and where the seats ended up give her the look of wearing a bathing suit and a fair amount of jiggle where it would be found on a normal woman. Okay, seriously, even the transforming robots have giant tits. Robots are brain scans of people. They get massive issues if they don't have body shapes similar to their natural ones. Mabby says in a dumbfounded voice as the equally shocked 20-foot-tall transforming air car robot rabbit woman overlooks them all. Her somewhat digital voice begins. Have I been rescued by pirates? She asks in shock. Seriously, is everything outside of cruel space required to have massive tits? Are men even a thing out here? Brent demands, and all the attention goes to him barring the few that start snickering, such as Franklin.